Welcome to Age of Steel and Fire, where modern warfare meets raw power. Tanks, tactics, and thunder. Throughout World War II and beyond, Germany developed a wide array of self-propelled anti-tank guns, bold in design, powerful in firepower, and terrifying in armor penetration. From the widely deployed Stu-G3 to steel monsters like the Jag Tiger and Ferdinand, each vehicle carries a dramatic chapter of military history. In today's video, we'll explore 14 of the most iconic German tank destroyers, from blueprint to battlefield, with detailed specs and real production numbers. Let's dive into the armored legacy of history. The Stu-G3 OSV was the first refined version of the Stu-G3 assault gun series, developed on the chassis of the Panzer III tank. Introduced in 1940, the OSV was designed to provide direct fire support for infantry, especially in neutralizing enemy fortifications and defensive positions. Compared to the earlier OSV-A, the B variant featured improved suspension, a more powerful engine, and minor structural changes for enhanced reliability. A total of approximately 320 units were produced by Alkit, marking the beginning of one of Germany's most successful armored fighting vehicle lines in World War II. The Stu-G3 OSV-G was the final and most widely produced variant of the Stu-G3 series, with over 7,700 units built. The OSV-G was not only Germany's most successful tank destroyer, but also one of the most mass-produced armored vehicles of World War II, with the long-barreled 7.5 centimeters gun, offering significantly improved armor penetration, capable of engaging medium tanks like the Soviet T-34 and American Sherman. The Stu-G3 OSV-G was often deployed as a frontline tank destroyer, used in ambushes or to support infantry during defensive operations. Its low profile, ease of concealment, and lower production cost compared to standard tanks made it the backbone of Germany's self-propelled gun forces in the final years of the war. The Jag Panzer IV was a self-propelled tank destroyer developed on the chassis of the Panzer IV. Entering production in 1944, it featured a low silhouette, sloped armor, and powerful armament, enhancing both survivability and combat effectiveness. Initially armed with the 7.5 centimeters gun, later versions were upgraded to the L-70 variant, offering superior armor penetration capable of defeating Soviet T-34s and IS-2 heavy tanks. Approximately 2,000 units were produced by Vomag and Alkit. The vehicle was commonly deployed in defensive operations, ambushes, and infantry support, particularly effective in urban and forested environments. The Dicker Max, nicknamed Fat Max, was a prototype self-propelled gun developed by Krupp in 1941. Originally intended as a bunker-busting artillery piece to destroy fortified enemy positions, it was later repurposed as a tank destroyer due to the escalating demands of the Eastern Front. The vehicle had several design flaws: thin armor ranging from 10 to 50 millimeters, an open-top fighting compartment, and a hefty weight of 22 tons that limited mobility. Only 2 prototypes were built and tested in combat on the Eastern Front in 1941. One was lost due to an accident, while the other saw limited action but failed to meet expectations. The Jag Panther was one of the most powerful and well-balanced tank destroyers ever produced by Germany during World War II. Built on the chassis of the Panther tank, the Jag Panther combined thick armor, devastating firepower, and impressive mobility, making it a nearly perfect vehicle for destroying enemy tanks. It was armed with Germany's most potent anti-tank weapon, and the frontal armor reached up to 80 millimeters, sloped for increased effective thickness, offering excellent protection against direct hits. Approximately 415 units were produced between 1944 and 1945 by manufacturers such as MIAG. The Jag Panther was deployed mainly on the Western and Eastern fronts, where it inflicted heavy losses on Allied armored forces. The Jag Panther is widely regarded by military historians as Germany's best tank destroyer of the war. Next, the Krupp-Steyr Waffenträger was a self-propelled anti-tank gun design developed in the final stages of World War II, as Germany sought to create lightweight, cost-effective vehicles for mass production. Waffenträger translates to weapon carrier, reflecting the design philosophy, a simple chassis carrying a powerful anti-tank gun. To reduce weight and cost, the vehicle had extremely thin armor, sufficient only against small arms fire. The open fighting compartment and lack of turret made the crew vulnerable. Despite its potential for mass production, the Kruppstair Waffenträger remained at the prototype stage. No units were deployed in actual combat. However, its design influenced post-war thinking in self-propelled gun development, especially in cost and mobility optimization. Next, the Ferdinand was one of the heaviest self-propelled tank destroyers ever produced by Nazi Germany during World War II. Developed from the unused chassis of the Porsche Tiger, which lost out to the Henschel Tiger design, the Ferdinand repurposed these massive frames into a dedicated tank killer with formidable firepower and armor. It was armed with the 8.8 centimeters gun, capable of penetrating any Allied tank at long range. Its frontal armor reached up to 200 millimeters, making it nearly impervious to direct fire. A total of 91 Ferdinands were produced in 1943 and first saw combat at the Battle of Kursk. After revealing weaknesses in close defense and mechanical reliability, the vehicle was upgraded to the Elephant variant. The Jag Tiger. Developed on the chassis of the Tiger II Super Heavy tank, the Jag Tiger embodied Nazi Germany's late war philosophy of thick armor, big gun. Weighing a staggering 75 tons, it was a colossal machine carrying firepower capable of destroying any Allied tank from long range. Only 88 Jag Tigers were produced between 1944 and 1945 by Nibelungenwerk. Despite their limited numbers, they saw combat on the Western Front and inflicted significant losses on Allied armored forces. However, mechanical unreliability and fuel shortages prevented the Jag Tiger from realizing its full potential. The Jagdpanzer E-100 was a conceptual super-heavy tank destroyer based on Nazi Germany's E-Series project, developed during the final phase of World War II. The E-Series aimed to standardize combat vehicles for easier production, maintenance, and replacement. Among them, the E-100 was the largest design, envisioned to surpass even the Tiger II in firepower and armor. Although one E-100 chassis was built and tested, the Jagdpanzer variant was never completed. No units were produced or saw combat. Still, the design remains a symbol of Germany's extreme engineering ambitions in the late war period, where ideals of armor and firepower far exceeded practical feasibility. The Cannon Jagdpanzer 105 was a modern tank destroyer developed by West Germany during the Cold War. Produced between 1965 and 1985, it reflected a new design philosophy: compact, mobile, powerful, and easy to maintain. It became one of the core combat vehicles of the early Bundeswehr. The vehicle was armed with the 105mm, a variant of the famous British L7 cannon, known for its high penetration and accuracy. Weighing 23 tons and powered by a 500 horsepower, the Cannon Jagdpanzer could reach speeds of up to 70 kilometers per hour. Approximately 770 units were produced. However, as anti-tank guided missiles became more prevalent, the role of traditional gun-based tank destroyers declined. The Nashorn, meaning rhinoceros in German, was developed urgently in 1943 as German forces faced heavy Soviet tanks like the KV-1 and IS-2. Built on a hybrid chassis combining elements of the Panzer III and IV, the Nashorn featured a simple, cost-effective design, but carried extremely lethal firepower. To reduce weight and production cost, the Nashorn had thin armor ranging from 10 to 30 millimeters and an open fighting compartment that left the crew exposed. Approximately 494 Nashorns were produced between 1943 and 1945. Despite its weak armor, the vehicle was highly effective in long-range ambush roles, especially in open terrain like the Russian steppes. Stubborn Emil reflects the vehicle's rugged, bulky nature and its deadly long-range firepower. The Sturer Emil was not designed for mobility or close defense, but rather as a long-range sniper to destroy targets from fixed positions. Only 2 prototypes were built and tested on the Eastern Front, with one seeing action at the Battle of Stalingrad. Reports indicate that this vehicle destroyed over 20 enemy tanks before being abandoned due to mechanical failure. Although never mass-produced, the Sturer Emil stands as a testament to Germany's capacity for building heavy artillery platforms and laid the groundwork for later super-heavy designs like the Jag Tiger. The Rheinmetallborsig Waffenträger was a conceptual light tank destroyer developed in the final phase of World War II. Though never built, the design reflects a tactical shift, favoring speed, firepower, and concealment over heavy armor. Its open fighting compartment and lack of turret helped reduce weight to around 15 tons. Armor was extremely thin, sufficient only against small arms, but the trade-off was high mobility and suitability for ambush tactics. Although it remained on paper, the RHM Borsig Waffenträger continues to attract interest as a prime example of high-mobility self-propelled gun design. It also inspired many fictional combat vehicles in games and military-themed media. The Waffenträger auf PZ was a self-propelled tank destroyer design based on the chassis of the Panzer IV, Germany's most widely used tank during World War II. The goal was to utilize existing chassis to mount heavy anti-tank guns, creating a combat vehicle that was both powerful and easy to produce. Several prototypes were built in 1944, but the project was cancelled as the war situation deteriorated and focus shifted toward anti-tank missile development. Though never deployed in combat, the Waffenträger auf PZ remains a notable example of Germany's resourceful and flexible design approach during the final phase of the war. And that concludes our journey through 14 legendary German tank destroyers. Machines that carried not just firepower, but the weight of ambition, strategy, and desperation during the most brutal years of war. From the humble Steed to the colossal Jagdtiger, each vehicle tells its own story of engineering, combat, and history. Though the war is long past, these designs live on in the hearts of military enthusiasts, a reminder of an era where steel and fire shaped destiny. Thank you for joining us on this journey. If you found this video insightful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel for more battlefield legends. See you in the next video, where history isn't just remembered, it's relived moment by moment.